Welcome to the Becoming You show, where limits get torched and possibility takes the mic. I'm Leah Rowling, human in permanent beta, neurostrategist, mom to 3 amazing humans, married to 1 legendary soul, and your no fluff permission slip to stop waiting. Every week, we rewire brain patterns, smash hand-me-down mindsets, and dive into the daring, identity-shifting conversations most people dodge. Ready to turn potential into proof? Grab your pen. Your next chapter starts now. Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome to the Becoming You show. I am your host, Leah Rowling. I am so glad you're here. I say this every time, but I really mean it. You could be listening to 1,000 different things. You could be not listening to anything at all. So whether or not I'm with you on your walk or while you're folding laundry or while you're running, or if you're just relaxing, I just welcome you here in this space for this conversation. It's a tender one today, you guys, not because it's fragile, but because it asks us to look honestly at ourselves. Somewhere along the way, many of us learned that the most evolved thing to do was to stop caring, right? To disengage, to stay neutral, to tell ourselves that we're just letting people be who they are. But today, I want to explore something a little deeper, maybe challenge you even just a little bit. Because what happens when indifference isn't wisdom, but quiet self-abandonment? So before we go any further, I really want to be clear about what this conversation is not about, okay? This is not about confronting strangers. It's not about calling people out. It's not about forcing change. This is about us, right? Our values, our integrity, and the subtle ways that we disconnect from ourselves when we stop standing for what matters, okay? Indifference often gets framed as maturity. Last year, if you followed me in the podcast, the drug of choice that I kept bringing forward on the show was this drug of distraction, right? Distraction was what I feel like took us away from our most authentic, brilliant self. This year, it's indifference, right? It's that whole, just letting people be them kind of indifference. It's what good is it going to do anyway? Indifference. We tell ourselves things like, it's not worth it, right? They won't change anyway. I'm just protecting my peace. This is just a boundary for me, right? And sometimes, beautiful, it's true, right? But sometimes indifference isn't peace. It's protection. And protection always comes with a cost. So let's talk about where that cost shows up. And there are 3 places, as I was thinking about this year and I was thinking about the cost of indifference, I wanted to bring forward in this conversation 3 places where it shows up. Number 1, it shows up as withholding truth to avoid discomfort, right? Indifference shows up in the things that we don't say, right? We don't name the standard. We don't elevate the experience. We don't have the conversation. We swallow what feels true. We silent our voice. Why? Because we've decided that discomfort isn't worth it. But when we consistently withhold truth, standards, we don't actually avoid discomfort. I want you to see this, friends. We just move it. We move that discomfort underground. And that unspoken truth doesn't disappear. It just turns into distance. It turns into this unsettling, unnerving disconnection from ourselves. The second place indifference shows up is even quieter, right? We tell ourselves we're being understanding, flexible, easygoing. And yeah, sometimes we are. Sometimes we are. But tolerance without honesty slowly trains the nervous system to disconnect. First from the situation, then from the relationship, and then eventually from ourselves. What we tolerate without truth eventually becomes resignation. That's cost two. The resignation of your values, the resignation of your integrity, the resignation of the characteristic trait of reverence and having a high regard for the leader in you. And this third one, you guys, it's the hardest to see because it sounds like growth, right? And that is confusing this acceptance with resignation. Okay, acceptance says, I see reality clearly, right? Resignation says, I just stopped caring. Acceptance says, I see reality clearly. I accept, right? That it is what it is. I accept that this is what is. Resignation says that I've just stopped caring altogether about what is. One keeps you grounded in reality, and the other quietly hardens your heart. And when this indifference goes unchecked, it often turns into isolation. And isolation quietly turns into ego, pride. Not loud pride, not superiority, but and not the kind that says I'm better than everyone else. It's the kind that says I don't need anyone else. And so if indifference, right, isn't the answer, because it costs too much. It costs too much. I'm refusing to believe that we should just silence our values, silence our standards, tolerate, right, whatever, and call it growth. So if that's not the answer, what is? Responsibility. That's what is. Responsibility doesn't mean we're fixing people. It doesn't mean that we're forcing outcomes. And here's the other thing, friends. It doesn't mean that we're guaranteeing change. It just means choosing who you're going to be in that moment, regardless of what other people do or don't do. Right? We don't speak up. We don't offer up our truth. We don't offer up our compassion because we believe it will work. We do it because it's aligned with who it is and the very best of us that deserves that it's our birthright to be here in it. And so here's kind of a practical way, a simple way, if you will, to know whether the indifference that you bring to any situation or any circumstance or any experience is wisdom or avoidance. And this little conversation test is massive because it's what I call the accountability conversation test. Okay. There's two questions, right? And let's just say there's an experience. Let's just say you are witnessing something that is not in alignment with your values, right? It would be if you allowed for it to carry on and to continue, it would be something that you tolerated against your will, okay? So here are the two questions. If I don't say this, what part of me am I abandoning? That's question one. And if I do say this with honesty and care, it doesn't have to come with a bunch of judgment. It can come from your own perspective, which, by the way, matters because you matter. Would I respect myself afterward? Again, this isn't about being right, you guys. It's about being clean and in congruence with job one, which is summoning the best of who it is that you are. Is the best of who it is that you are abandoning that conversation because it's wise to do, or are you abandoning that conversation because it's more comfortable for you? And you will know the truth. You will know the truth. And a lot of times, you guys, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. Not because it is right or wrong, but because we're just not very familiar with offering up a truth and being okay if they don't agree, being okay if they look at you crazy. Like, we didn't ask you, lady. And again, these are not conversations, like I said at the very beginning, that we're talking to strangers about. But when they're in the circumference of our influence, I'm inviting you, not that you need my permission to be invited to that. I'm inviting you to be influential. And there's one more distinction, you guys, that I want to make here. You can offer truth without attachment, right? Meaning you can name a standard, you can express your opinion, your perspective without demanding compliance, um, without requesting approval or understanding. You can just name something because it matters to you, right? You can offer up, hey, I want to call something here up because it's really been on my heart lately. And I refuse to be indifferent anymore. In a world where I think indifference has become more tolerated than I would like it to be, I refuse to be indifferent about this. Now, I'm not asking you, right, to change right now. I'm not asking you to change your perspective or change your opinion. I just refuse to silence mine. And that's what we do when we do that, when we abandon ourselves by staying quiet. And this is where a lot of people get stuck. They'll ask me, I had the conversation this morning. It won't change anything, Leah. It was a conversation that I had with a client that had talked and talked and talked until he was blue in the face, his words, not mine, around this team member who just doesn't get it, won't ever get it, right? So if it won't change, if they won't change, why bother? Why bother? And the answer is always this: because you change. Because you change. This work is about you. This work, the biggest goal that you can have in your life is to learn everything and as much about you as you possibly can. How much will you step into discomfort to honor your own mattering? How much will you stand for what you believe in without needing to convince everybody else to believe in it? You change in that moment. This work isn't for other people to change. That would be insane. That would be reckless of me to ask you to do something in order so that somebody does something so that you can feel better. No, 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 no. This work is you do something to feel better. When we need other people to do something so we feel better, we completely give all of our freedom, our peace, our our future away. We need to know that. So if you hear yourself saying, why bother? It won't matter. They won't change. They never do. We need to flip that back. It's not about them changing. It's about who do you want to be in this conversation? Do you want to be somebody that silence yourself just so that everybody else can be comfortable? Are you unwilling or are you willing to put yourself in a little bit of harm's way? Are you willing to challenge that discomfort to say what needs to be said, not for their benefit, but for yours? So when you stop tolerating what violates your values, you don't become a harsher version of you. You become clearer. You elevate that self-efficacy, which is the best predictor that we have scientifically in confidence. Right? Everybody's searching for confidence. You get it by enacting and enrolling that level of self-trust, that level of self-efficacy that you have for yourself, that level of mattering. And as you become clearer and clarity comes forward, it creates massive amounts of peace, massive amounts of self-regard. So to bring this forward, we're not here to manage outcomes. We're here to live in integrity, to live in integrity, to care enough about our own values to be able to share them, even if it means other people might be uncomfortable. Scratch that, most likely will be uncomfortable. Why? Because most people have just relegated to indifference. We're just going to let them be them, they'll be them anyway. And all while that's true, who do you want to be? Who do you choose to be? Let them be them, but then who are you going to be in this? Are you going to be somebody that silences your voice or somebody that shares it? And man, I hope you choose the latter. We need more people sharing their voice, not from a conviction, pointing fingers, telling people that they're wrong in their opinions and their perspectives and that they're doing it wrong. No, no. We need you sharing your voice of compassion, of leadership, so that there are different perspectives for people to choose. And maybe the perspective is you don't need them to choose. You just require them to not be indifferent. So, if this conversation stirred even just a little bit of something in you, if I caught just a little bit of a nerve, if you found yourself in this, which I do often, which is why I bring the conversations forward, I want you to hear this very gently. You're not wrong for wanting peace. You're not wrong for wanting to just get along. You're not wrong for wanting to not rock the boat, right? And you're also not wrong for wanting integrity. The work is learning how to hold both, how to hold both. And we have a lab, and this is exactly the work that we do together in the Inner Board Lab. We take conversations just like this and we move them out of theory and we move them into brain-based scientific tools, frameworks, and real life practice. So you're not just thinking about integrity, you're living it. And I would love nothing more than to be in these conversations, these deep-rooted, brain-based conversations with people of integrity just like you. Because if you've bothered to listen to this whole thing, you know that there's something in it that could be true. That maybe this indifference, maybe being indifferent about indifference is the wake-up call. And I would love it today if you just decided that you're going to make a practice of no longer being indifferent. At least having an opinion about it that is in your highest regard. I'm not even asking you to share it, unless, of course, you want to put your courage pants on and do so. But I'm just saying, how can you keep it? How can you keep it here instead of the indifference that we're spreading that only creates the costs that I shared earlier, and you become indifferent with yourself. If you no longer allow yourself to have a voice, you will become indifferent with it. So, if you want a place to integrate this work, these conversations that we have on this show, with a level of depth and support and compassion, you're always welcome to join us there. The link is in the show notes. The membership is fire. We have so many amazing self-led, heart-led leaders just like you in there doing the work every single month. And this month we are talking about cognition and the cognition code and why thinking matters and why thinking on purpose matters. So we hope that you will join us in the lab this month. Okay, my beautiful friends, until next time, here's your challenge and here is your invitation. Don't abandon yourself in the name of peace. Your voice matters. Allow it to matter. Your voice to do good in the world is summoning the very best of who it is that you are. How can we elevate the conversations that are currently running in socials, that are in scarcity, that is in judgment, that is in hate? And how can we elevate them into a possibility of love, compassion, understanding, appreciation for the imperfect human that we all are? Where is their unconditional love for the person and a level of acceptance? Again, acceptance doesn't mean approval. A level of acceptance for the behavior and then calling it up. Inviting people into a different way to think, into a different way to feel, into a different way to lead. I believe that as humans in this beautiful, brilliant world that is not just our birthright, but an incredible responsibility that I know that if you're listening to this, you take on as a responsibility as well. So thank you for being here. I look forward to seeing you in the next conversation and in the lab, should it align with what it is that you're looking forward to in this year, in this season, in this moment in time. Have a beautiful one, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye. If this episode cracked something open, good. Let it. And then head to leahrollingcoaching.com and grab the tools to rewire the story and reclaim your future. It is yours. And then share this with someone who's still waiting to be chosen, still waiting for permission, and remind them they don't need a breakthrough, that they are the breakthrough. Until next time, my beautiful friends, invest in you and keep becoming.